business session of the September 21st, 2021 to order at 6 p.m. All council members are present except Councilmember Sabito. Welcome to all of our guests and visitors. We provide you for an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary staff at the registration table outside of the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and staff will distribute those to council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberties and justice for all. Our first item of business is to consider the minutes of the September 7th, 2021 City Council meeting. The minutes were provided to you in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections? There are no corrections. The minutes will stand as approved as submitted. And our first public hearing today is public hearing 2021-637.
Good evening. I'm Carla Pendergraft with the Waco Convention Center and Visitors Bureau. Honorable Mayor and Council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance approving and adopting an updated service and assessment plan, including the assessment roll and assessment map for the Waco Tourism Public Improvement District, or Waco TPID, for fiscal year 2021-22. This is the first reading. The board for the Waco TPID met on September 15, 2021 and voted to recommend to the City Council an updated service and assessment plan for the Waco TPID, including an assessment roll for fiscal year 2021-22. The Waco TPID board based its budget on the following revenues and expenditures: assessment collection, $1,260,000. And then the proposed expenditures of the Waco TPID's budget are as follows: marketing 45%, $567,000; sales 40%, $504,000; tourism research 8%, $100,800; administration 7%, $88,200, for a total of $1,260,000. The assessment plan for fiscal year 2021-22 remains the same as last year, the first year of the district. The Waco TPID is made up of hotel properties in the city limits of Waco with 75 or more hotel rooms. These properties pay a 2% assessment on their occupied rooms for the purpose of generating funds to market and promote Waco as a convention and tourism destination. The total budgeted costs of the expenditures are in the amount of $1.2 million, all of which will be funded by assessments collected on taxable hotel night revenues. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? We will open up a public hearing, and I believe that we do have, actually I don't think we have anyone to speak on this item. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
King.
Yes. Motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-638.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the following subdivision plat, final plat and construction plans of the Bodie Road Addition Phase 1. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the plat and the construction plans.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Not, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer. Aye. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield. Yes. King.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-639.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Angela Nagel and Stephen White for a special short-term rental type 1 and R1B zoning district on property described as lots 1 and 2B, block 3 of the Oak Forest Park Addition, known as 2925 Park Lake Drive. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate orderly development of the area in which it is located. That the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics that any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception, and that available community facilities and services, including the road system, providing access to proposed use are adequate for the proposed use.
Are there any questions for staff? If not, we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I will close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-640.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to James Beard for a short-term rental type 1 in R1B zoning district on property described as being a 1.018 acres of land out of the A. Willingham Survey Abstract number 898, being all of that called 1 acre of land described in a deed to Amy LeBray and Austin Paul LeBray, McLennan County Clerk's instrument number 2015-040564 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, known as 620 Bosque Lane. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located. 3, the proposed use will not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics that any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception. And 4, that available community facilities and services, including the road system, providing access to the proposed use are adequate for the proposed use.
Are there any questions for staff? Now we'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Now we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-641.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution granting a special permit to Patrick and Cynthia Highland for an outdoor recreation and amusement facility and RV park in R1B zoning district on property described as 46.495 acres, being all of that tract of land of City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, out of the Thomas de la Vega 11 League grant, and being a part of the called 280.686 acres described in a deed to J&J Properties, recorded in volume 495, page 135 of the official public records in McLennan County, Texas, located along J.J. Flewellen Drive and north of East Herring Avenue. We did receive a request to withdraw. We will need to have a public hearing on the request to withdraw first.
We'll open a public hearing on the request to withdraw. Is there anyone here to speak on that item? Now I'll close the public hearing on the request to withdraw. Is there a motion?
Motion to deny the withdrawal.
Second.
Any discussion? Please.
Clint, can you explain what the difference is in the withdrawal and if it was just denied flat out?
Yes, ma'am. So the ordinance requires requests that have been withdrawn to have a 6-month waiting period before they can apply for a new request. Similar request, if it's denied, then it's a 12-month waiting period.
And I believe if we look at this from the outward expressions from the members of the community who came and spoke for Plan Commission and were vehemently against this property being in this neighborhood, and its proximity to the church, to the schools, they spoke out about this in full force. And I think that I would hate for them to have to redo that again in 6 months. So I think that it's best that we deny the withdrawal and just present the proposal the ordinance going forward, and then deny it too.
Any other discussion on this?
I will echo Councilmember Bearfield. As watching that Plan Commission meeting, there was a very eloquent and consistent and unanimous argument to have this disapproved, and just to support the folks that showed up en masse to have that heard. I want to let them know that we're listening.
Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Do we have a, yes, Holmes?
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Porter?
Yes.
Fairfield? Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. And now I'm assuming we'll need a motion on the denial of
disapproval,
this,
yeah.
correct?
Yes, let me read the recommendation of the Plan Commission, the record, and then we can open up a public hearing on the request itself. So the Plan Commission did recommend by a vote of 10-0 to disapprove the request based on the following findings. One, the proposed use is not compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located. Two, the proposed use would be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of the special exception. And three, the road system providing access to the proposed use is not adequate for the proposed use. Because pursuant to state law and the zoning ordinance, the application fails to receive a favorable report of the recommendation by the commission, it shall not be approved except with a 3/4 vote of all members of the council. In this case, Plan Commission did not give a favorable recommendation, therefore a 3/4 city council vote is required for approval of this request.
We'll open a public hearing on this matter. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? I will close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
A motion to deny the request.
Second.
Any discussion?
I join in the concern of my fellow council members on this. I think R1B is just not an appropriate district for what they're proposing here. And if they come back at this in 12 months, I'm going to feel the same way with a similar proposal, as I assume my council members would as well.
Those are the things that it's not compatible with, you know, the orderly development in the area. It's the road systems aren't adequate for what they are proposing to develop. So I just think it makes sense and to deny this request.
Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer?
Aye.
Porter?
Yes.
Fairfield? Meek?
Yes. The motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-642.
Honourable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance in the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from industrial and open space to mixed-use flex. On property described as follows: one, being a 1.0857 acre tract of land, more or less, out of the Carlos L. Campo Grant, abstract number 32, McLennan County, Texas, known as 400 South Loop 340. Two, being approximately 12.305 acres and being all of that tract of land in McLennan County, Texas, out of the Carlos L. Campo Grant, abstract number 32, City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, and being all that called 12.12 acre tract of land described in the deed. Alan Wichkowski, recorded in McLennan County Clerk's document 2014-02-7511 of the official public records in McLennan County, Texas. Three, being 18.56 acres of land in the Carlos L. Campo Grant in McLennan County, Texas, being part of that certain 44.81 acre tract of land. Described the second tract conveyed from August Martin Angerman to Pauline Rosenier in deed records October 6, 1969, in volume 1059, page 131, of the deed records of McLennan County, Texas, known as 1618 South Loop 340. Four, being a 3.3 acre tract of land out of the Carlos Ocampo Grant and being a part of the 13.26 acre tract conveyed by deed and recorded in volume 640, page 138 of the McLennan County, Texas deed records. And five, being two of 3.2 acre tracts of land out of the Carlos Ocampo Grant and being a part of the 13.26 acre tract of land conveyed by deed recorded in volume 640, page 138 of the McLennan County deed records. Providing that the Code of Ordinance of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning to said code. Providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that a certain property described above shall be changed from R1B and M2 to O2 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determined the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. We did also receive a request to withdraw this one from the applicant, and staff does recommend approval of that withdrawal.
we will open a public hearing, or, sorry, are there any questions for staff on this? We'll open a public hearing on the request to withdraw. Is there anyone here to speak on that item? If not, we'll close that public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-643.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as Lot 8, Block 11, South Manor, addition known as 3301 Robinson Drive shall be changed from O2 district classification and become and be designated in the O3 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing severability clause, and finding the term at the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan. 2, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in O3 zoning. 3, the property meets all the area and width requirements for O3 zoning. And 4, the proposed O3 zoning is compatible with the surrounding area.
Are there any questions for staff?
Yeah, I have a question for you. So you had mentioned that staff had identified that this business owner or the owner of the property was doing a business that was not previously allowed under the current zoning, is that correct?
Yes, the existing O2 zoning, and it's also not allowed under the proposed O3 zoning.
Is there a plan for staff to continue to monitor this particular plot and business going forward just to confirm that this doesn't happen again?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Now we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-644.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed at certain property described as being in the .632 acres of land in the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, out of the T.J. Chambers Survey Abstract Number 7, and being all of a Lot 1, Block 1 of the Oak Edition as recorded in McLennan County Clerk's Document 2017-033-343 of the Official Public Records of McLennan County, Texas, and part of that called .069 acre tract of land described in a deed to Merck Land Holdings LLC as recorded in MCCD 2019-01-6813 of the Official Public Records of McLennan County, Texas, known as 1018 and 1020 LaSalle Avenue, shall be changed from C5 and O2 district classification and be designated in a C2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing severability clause, and finding the term at the meeting which is the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 10-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan and the LaSalle Avenue District Plan. 2, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for uses allowed in C2 zoning. 3, the property meets all the area and width requirements for C2 zoning. And 4, there's C2 zoning in the vicinity of the property.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing on this item. Is there anyone here to speak? Now we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-645.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed at certain property described as lots 1, 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 4, 5, 6, and 7, Block C of the J.W. Mann Edition, known as 603, 609, 611, 615, 619, 623, and 625 South 10th Street shall be changed from O2 district classification and become designated into C2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing severability clause, and finding a term at the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This is another one that we had a request from the applicant to withdraw and staff does recommend that request.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing on the issue of withdrawing the request. Is there anyone here to speak on that item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
I move that we approve the request for withdrawal.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porteroo.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2021-646.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed to a certain property described as Lot 5, Block 1 of the Fry subdivision known as 3509 Charlton Avenue shall be changed from R1B district classification and become and be designated an R2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing severability clause, and finally determining the meeting which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 8-0 with 2 abstentions, the Planning Commission recommended disapproval of the request based on the following findings. 1, R1B zoning is a dominant zoning area, and there is no other R2 zoning in this block of Charlton Avenue. And 2, the existing R1B zoning is compatible with surrounding areas, more compatible with the surrounding areas than the proposed R2 zoning. Pursuant to state law and zoning ordinance, if this application fails to receive a favorable report and recommendation from the Commission, it shall not be approved except with a 3/4 vote of all members of council. In this case, Plan Commission did not give a favorable recommendation, therefore, the 3/4 council vote is required for approval of this request.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we disapprove this request to rezone.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Porteroo.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move to the consent agenda. The next item is to vote on resolutions pulled from the consent agenda. The first item we have is Resolution 663. Is there a motion on this item? Or is that, sorry, I want to confirm, has that been pulled from the agenda altogether?
That's pulled all together, yes, sir.
Okay, so the first one that we'll be voting on is 690. Is there a motion for Resolution 690?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second that motion. Is there any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes. Fairfield. Yes. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to Resolution 660. Is there a motion for this item?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. We'll now move to the consent agenda, which includes items 2021-647 through 2021-694, except for the resolution 663, 690, and 660. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to highlight for the folks in the audience and watching at home, we are approving several contracts with civic organizations that add so much value to Waco, whether it's Creative Waco, Prosper Waco, Keep Waco Beautiful, City Center Waco. These are all entities that really both enhance the strengths of who we are as a community and tackle some of the very complex issues that are facing us as a community. So I am thrilled to vote in affirmation of these resolutions and just really excited to see the great work that the entities across our community are doing. This is not a single effort. We have to, the 6 of us on council working in tandem with our phenomenal senior city staff are working as best as we can, but we are so much stronger when we have our faith partners and our nonprofit and our governmental entities all working in tandem, and these resolutions really are reflective of that. Everything from the Zoological and Botanical Society to our Chambers of Color. So I'm just excited to pass this evening.
I fully concur with Councilmember Palmer on that. I believe those are so essential to what we do as a city and in moving our priorities forward. So I absolutely fully agree with that. I also want to highlight, as we did in the work session, the contract with Big Creek Construction that will be improving Mars Drive and Old Hewitt Road out in our industrial sector and right next to Midway High School, which I think is going to be a great benefit to our West Wacoans and all of those in the Midway ISD school system. So I appreciate our city manager for pushing that forward after several years of movement on this.
Any other discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porterwood.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move on to ordinance 2021-695.
An ordinance revising Article 6 Sanitary Sewer Use Regulations of Chapter 26 Utilities of the Waco Code of Ordinances to ensure compliance with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Standards and Requirements. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, providing for a penalty, providing for an effective date, providing for inclusion in the code, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed to open the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
Is there a motion, excuse me. Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer. Porterwood.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2021-696.
An ordinance establishing administrative departments of the City of Waco, Texas, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a savings clause, providing for an effective date, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on September 7th, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porterwood.
Yes.
Fairfield. Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2021-697.
An ordinance amending Section 1876A of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas to increase the number of positions in the emergency operations classification of the Waco Fire Department by increasing the number of firefighters, grade 1, from 78 to 81. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a savings clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on September 7th, 2021.
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Porterwood. Fairfield. Meek.
Yes. That motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2021-698.
An ordinance approving and adopting a service plan and assessment plan for Waco Public Improvement District Number 1, including the annual budget and assessment role for providing improvements and/or services for fiscal year 2021-22, making provisions for the levying of assessments against property in the district and the owners thereof, fixing charges and liens against property in the district and the owners thereof, providing for the collection of such assessments, enacting other provisions related thereto, reserving unto the City Council the authority to reduce such assessments based on credits established by the City Council, directing that all required procedures be followed in accordance with Chapter 372 of the Local Government Code, providing for a savings clause, providing for an effective date, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 4-0 council vote on first reading on September 7th, 2021.
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Holmes.
Aye.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to ordinance 2021-699.
An ordinance approving and adopting an updated service plan and assessment plan for Waco Public Improvement District Number 2, including the annual budget, assessment plan, and the assessment roll for fiscal year 2021-22, making provisions for the levying of special assessments for improvement costs and annual administrative expense assessments on certain property in Public Improvement District Number 2 and the owners thereof, fixing charges and liens against property in Public Improvement District Number 2 and the owners thereof, providing for the collection of such assessments, enacting other provisions relating thereto, reserving unto the council the authority to reduce such assessments based on credits established by City Council, directing that all required procedures be followed in accordance with Chapter 372 of the Local Government Code, providing a savings clause, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed and open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on September 7th, 2021.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second, assuming that PID 2 is not a conflict, is that right? Okay, second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Aye.
Palmer. Porter.
Yes.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and now we'll move to the hearing of visitors. The hearing of visitors section of the agenda is where we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or address issues that are not matters of consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but will listen, ask staff to listen, look into concerns, and provide follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. If you are unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. And the first card I have today is Mr. David Schleicher. Welcome. And Katie, you're next.
Good evening, and thank you for your service. I'm David Schleicher, as he said. I speak to you as someone that lives over at 9th and Jefferson and is a small business owner that is about to move offices over to 510 Austin Avenue. Also as someone who previously had the pleasure of representing downtown as part of being an at-large member of the Waco School Board. I'm speaking in favor of the plaza on 7th Street. Some of its virtues: it's flexible, provides some protection from the elements while still being COVID appropriate, allowing some breeze to go circulate, provides opportunities for artistic expression, and finally is memorable, the sort of place that a visitor will stumble upon as a hidden gem and hopefully take an Instagram photo that will then generate more visitors. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We appreciate you. Next, we have Katie Selman Green. And after that, we will have Dr. Northcutt.
Hello, my name is Katie Selman Green, and I am a resident of District 4, and I'm also a business owner in District 4 in downtown on Austin Avenue between 7th and 8th. I'm also the co-founder of Keep Waco Loud, which is an organization where we have countless music and comedy events in the downtown area. I'm addressing you today to know, as a business owner in downtown, it's my strong belief that the 7th Avenue Street Plaza has greatly increased foot traffic at my business and others. Anytime there's an event at the plaza, the subsequent foot traffic that it adds to the downtown area is substantial. The plaza's events have been a joy to have. It's colorful, it's inclusive, and it's allowed many young performers and artists that I know to grow and love the plaza as well. It was a space where we were actually able to hold our Keep Waco Loud open mic while we renovated our current restaurant and bar. The downtown Waco we know and love today is not the downtown I knew growing up. My mom is from Marlin and my dad is from West, and they met when my mom was at Baylor, and when my mom recently visited me in downtown, she mentioned it was not the downtown that she grew up, knowing. I took her downtown, and she said that the area was unrecognizable, and the plaza was a huge part of that. I've lived in several large cities prior to settling in Waco in 2017, including Atlanta, Houston, and New York City, all of which have countless activated spaces like the downtown plaza for local groups to gather, perform, celebrate, and enjoy. The potential removal of the downtown plaza would be a huge disservice to Austin Avenue. As a business owner, I want more events in downtown Waco. Having more business creates business. Having simultaneous events right next to each other is a gift to the community, and it creates traffic and buzz about how downtown is the place to be right then. The once plain 7th Street alleyway that I used only to park behind the Hippodrome is now a unique space filled with local curated graffiti art, and the 7th Street Plaza has caused me zero inconveniences in terms of parking, driving, or hindering business traffic. In fact, because of the efforts from City Center, it's more widely known that there's an abundant parking all over the area. With the ability to make the plaza permanent, amazing leaders at City Center like Wendy Gregg and Michael Carpenter would have the ability to invest more resources and have the ability to create regular programming, allowing local artists to create, perform, and thrive. Not to mention, the 7th Street Plaza is a finalist for the Downtown Association Resiliency Award. So that's a really big thing for the city to be able to recognize. We're coming out of a pandemic stronger than ever in downtown Waco, and do not let those efforts be in vain. Please take my word strongly and consider the 7th Street Pavilion to be permanent, and invest in such welcoming spaces that have endless potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. We appreciate you. Next, we have Dr. Alan Northcutt.
Alan Northcutt. Before I start my 3 minutes, I want to clarify something. This was not hearing of visitors. I filled out a card. It's Resolution 2021-675 concerning purchase of some leasing of vehicles. I don't know what that does to your rules of order or whatever.
Apologize. Just how about we just carry on the hearing of visitors?
Okay. I just wanted to be sure you knew it was an actual resolution. So there's limited information provided about these 10 car leases, but the total cost to state is $180,000, so it suggests about $10,800 per car. The amazing fact is that this lease process was started in 2007, 14 years ago. So this is an extreme example of taking the same action and expecting a different result. Now, the information provided here does not state that electric vehicles were even considered. In 2021, with a worsening climate crisis, the city must look at all purchases critically for ways to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Now, the first page of your handout, I forgot to mention that there is a handout. First page has a summary of current climate science from the World Meteorological Organization. Now, to avert the dangerous climate impacts that are mentioned on this page, this requires every jurisdiction to act. So what would the options be on these car leases? In your handout, Electric Online reviews all the leasing programs from dealers and manufacturers for EVs. This is a very current review. There's a little missing data due to glitches, but you'll see that the bottom line here is cost per year, and it goes through a large number of cars showing what the cost per year is. On the last page of your handout, it reviews cars that are being offered by manufacturers for lease in September. There are 4 cars there where the cost is less than $10,800, which is the presumed cost for the gas cars. A couple of Hyundais, a Nissan, and a Kia. Some of these are excellent cars. One is actually $8,614, lower than the gas car. And this does not even consider, of course, gas and maintenance savings. So there are options to consider here. I realize it's easier just to continue what we've been doing for 14 years, but I think we have a responsibility for our city and for the planet here. So rather than approving this resolution, I think at the bare minimum, the city should look at what are the range requirements of these particular vehicles and what EVs might fill this need. There's 3 big advantages. 1, it would cut greenhouse gas emissions. Number 2, decrease air pollution. There's no toxic tailpipe emission from EVs, of course. And number 3, it looks like it might even save money. So that's my comment on that resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Northcutt. Is there anyone here to speak on at the hearing of visitors? There being none, are there any? Oh, sorry, Mr. Herring. I do have a card from you, I apologize. Mr. Herring, apologies. Good evening, Mr. Herring.
One of the, I'm gonna come back 1046 Chestnut, and the reason why I'm just let me get started, and I'm gonna be nice and speak quick. I have not got contacted yet as you told me, somebody from the city gonna contact me about 1046 Chestnut, ain't happened yet. I put in numerous open record requests. One I got back the other day saying that I paid up $75. I can't get my information to talk to the Attorney General's office. But let me go over what I have. You see in front of you, there is an exemption for a disabled person. One of the biggest things in Waco right now is a homelessness. Back in 1996, my mother and my stepfather basically were disabled individuals. So you see there is documentation showing that they were exempt. So I came to Waco in 2000 as a trooper from 2001 to 2004. I remember running a task force in 2002 and I arrested a lot of people. But so I got down in 2002 after the task force in December, Christmas task force, my mother's house got inspected. People know me, I'm from Waco. I play football here, I've lived there all my life. So I'm trying to figure out, and I asked your inspection department, why did y'all inspect the house? If you notice there, it said everything is repairable. Okay, that's no big deal. But then you flip on the back, the next one, the next sheet, to December 2002, they said the house was infeasible, non-repairable. So if you notice also there too, is you get a chance when the inspectors say the house is irreparable, you get a chance to go in front of the Building Standards Commission and plead your case. So you notice there's no date. She got this in February, but you notice there was no date on when she goes to these standards. You notice that she had little notes on here where she called the inspection department numerous times. No answer. So when we finally I took off time to go to talk about it, found out the house was demolished, in order to be demolished in March 2003. And she had to pay for it herself. So that was okay, that's 2003. But then what stood in my eye, that got my attention, you notice at the county, I went through that looking for stuff because the family was investigating what happened to my mom's house. If you notice the county, there's a document signed September 13, 2016, saying the house at 1046 Chestnut is unsafe and unstructured. My question I come to you is, my mother was 67 years old when y'all destroyed her house. Is there anything in place when a disabled senior citizen house is attacked that y'all don't destroy it? She also applied for, y'all had this deal where you take money the Kansas City was giving to the senior citizen to repair their house. She never got it. And I blame myself for that because I came back as a trooper. He was writing tickets, and I remember one guy going to her house after I wrote him a ticket, telling her that her son wrote her a ticket, and next thing I know, she loses stuff. Thank you for your time, God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Is there anyone here to speak at the hearing of visitors? If not, we will close the hearing of visitors. Are there any council member reports on committees, boards, commission, liaison visits?
Mayor, it's not a liaison visit, and I know that Jennifer's gonna give me the side eye in just a minute. But I did want to make mention that we are incredibly proud. I sit on the board of Texas Downtown Association, and Waco is up for 3 President's Awards. So the Stratton Building, Keep Waco Loud, and the Activated Space on 7th. So we're incredibly proud of City Center Waco and Keep Waco Loud, and our business owners who have been dedicated and committed to revitalizing and bringing a resurgence and continued uplift in downtown Waco. So just a personal point of privilege.
As we test our city attorney's willingness to let us say things that are slightly off record, want to make a quick announcement that we've received millions of dollars of American Rescue Plan Act, and if you go on the City of Waco website, there is a tool that is available through the end of the month where you can allocate how you'd like us to consider spending up to $17 million. So plug that's available in both English and in Spanish, and we'd love to have y'all fill it out.
I'll also join the chorus of somewhat relevant.
I hate you all.
I also want to congratulate our city police department for its success in Battle of the Badges blood drive, bringing that title home after many years in foreign hands there in the county. So great to have it back with us with Waco PD, and for a wonderful cause, of course.
There being no further business, we will adjourn the meeting at 6:45 p.m.